All right, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast, NBA podcast. My name is Keith, here once again for a solo interview episode. The full episode with John and Chuck will be out later in the week. Quite a weekend of NBA basketball. The entire world is up in arms about refereeing, and kind of a miserable experience, I feel like, listening to the people complain about the refs and the difficulty of the job. But I'm going to skip it. Everyone knows that's my passion, or at least our hardcore listeners know that's one of my passions. I'm going to skip it. This episode, we talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder and Russell Westbrook with Andrew Schlecht of the Down to Dunk podcast. We also bring in a little special bonus. Make sure you stick around at the end where Adam Mares from the Denver Stiffs podcast comes on to relive the final minute of Game 7, including the final 20 seconds where the Spurs rolled over and let the clock expire in a very bizarre finish to their series. So stick around for that with Andrew and with Adam. If you want to support our show, download the Draft app. Draft.com/fastbreak, or you could download it in the iTunes store or the Android App Store. Draft. They have all the different sports, but I only play basketball. It's a daily fantasy game where you can set your lineups, or you pick your lineups by doing a snake draft or a blind auction. I've been doing those snake drafts for these playoff games. Every playoff night, I will add a little extra action on the games for fun. Some of you guys have been following me on there so we can play heads up. I love that. My username is Fast Break Breakfast. So after you download the app, you can find me on there. Follow me. I'll follow you back. Invite me to a 2-person draft or a 3-person draft or whatever, and we can play for $1. You can play for pretty much any amount of money. I only do the low stakes stuff. $1 here, $1 there. I will play you always if you challenge me. It's a lot of fun. One thing I really like about the Draft app is you can only play against your buddies if you want to. So I could just play against Fast Break Breakfast listeners. If I think Al Horford's going to have another great game, if I trust Nikola Jokic to tear apart the defense of Enes Kanter and the Blazers, maybe I'll favor him. But anyway, it'll be a lot of fun as these playoff series hit the second round. The second round, I think, is going to be great. We already have Rockets-Warriors, which could be an NBA Finals matchup. The Eastern Conference battles, I think, are going to be great. And Blazers-Nuggets, man. Whoever advances to the Western Conference Finals, those fans, what a surprise. I think neither one of them probably thought they were going to make the Western Conference Finals, and one of those teams is going to. So anyway, play some extra daily fantasy against me. You can play for free. If you play for small stakes, if you use our code FASTBREAK, you get $3 to use on that site however you see fit. You want to challenge me for a $3 game? Let's do it. You can play on the house right there. That's free money if you use our code FASTBREAK. So download the Draft app, draft.com/fastbreak. Use our code FASTBREAK. My guest today covers the Thunder as host of the Down to Dunk podcast and the OKC Dream Team podcast and Daily Thunder podcast. And he's a return guest, Andrew Schlecht. Andrew, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. I just listened to Sam Presti talk for about an hour, so I'm still trying to search through the dictionary and make sure I know all the words, but good besides that.
Did he announce he's going to the Lakers?
He did not.
He's sticking around. All right.
He seems invested. I'll say that.
That's good. That's good. Well, how about you? Before we get into it, we do need to talk about your breakfast. Did you have breakfast today, or have you had a good one recently?
Man, see, I just wish that I had a really great answer for you today, because today was maybe my most disappointing breakfast in a while. Uh-huh. It was just a yogurt, a coconut flavored yogurt, and man, cereal is my thing, and we do like all sorts of cereal rankings on Down to Dunk all the time.
Really?
And I ran out of cereal.
Oh.
I'm out. It was just not a great day for me to be on your show for that reason only.
What's your Mount Rushmore of cereal?
I mean, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is
classic.
number one.
Yeah.
I think I'd go Cracklin' Oat Bran would be on there for me too.
Okay.
Do you know Cracklin' Oat Bran?
I'm aware of it, yeah. I think my memory of it is gross, but I haven't had it in a long time.
I would challenge you to try it again.
All right. I can do that. It's probably good for my heart or something.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of hidden sugars in that. I would assume. I would go probably Lucky Charms.
Okay,
And
yeah.
then Reese's Puffs.
Reese's Puffs. See,
Yeah.
those are that's decadent. That's almost too much. As
is.
much as I love candy, sweet tooth, I think that's too much for me. If the Reese's Puffs cereal was an OKC Thunder player, who would it be?
Oh man,
That wasn't on the rundown.
that's a Russell Westbrook, because it is like, oh, it's awesome, but it's sometimes just too much.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of empty calories. I don't know. Anyway, what did Sam Presti say over the last hour that you understood? Did he say anything of note, anything of interest as far as what this Thunder team is going to be doing?
Yeah, I think the thing that people are most interested in is Billy Donovan's job status. And he mostly said that he'll be around. He did kind of leave the door open, saying that he hadn't spoken with him yet and that they'll have a conversation. So, he will most likely be the coach. And so beyond that, he said the Thunder got their ass kicked in the playoffs, which is like, yeah, they sure did. I'm glad that you addressed that. And he knows that there need to be some changes. But overall, I think what the whole Thunder fan base was watching for and listening for is what's Billy's job status. And it seems to be okay as of today.
Well, I don't know if you know this. My favorite team, the Grizzlies, on their media day or their end-of-season wrap-up media availability, they announced their coach was coming back, and he was fired a couple hours later, along with the GM.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any of that in the water in OKC, perhaps. People are holding out hope. I don't know.
I think people definitely are holding out hope. I periscoped it, and you could see everybody's reaction after he said that he was going to be back. Everybody's like, no.
What do people think Billy Donovan should be doing that he's not doing?
Winning.
So just winning. I mean, obviously everyone loves to win. They think if they had something would be going differently with the players, or they think if they had a taskmaster like Jim Boylan, that he could teach Russell Westbrook to maybe show a little more discretion when he's shooting.
That's always my question when people are like, fire Billy Donovan. Okay, cool.
For what?
What's next? Like
yeah.
That's the Thunder. Like the Thunder aren't going to fire him and do a coaching search. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
If they're going to fire him, they have the guy lined up already. Like that's the kind of organization that they are. So unless there's a guy out there, they're like, yes, we know this guy, whoever it is, will take us to the next level. If they know that guy, great. They'll let go of Billy. But I don't think they know that guy. And so they're not just going to fire him to fire him.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Do you think Donovan deserves like a brunt of blame for this team? I mean, they got technically upset in the playoffs. They were Vegas favorites. Do you think he deserves the brunt of the blame? Is the brunt of the blame on Russell Westbrook, who also seems to be taking, I guess, the blame nationally, or is it something else? Is it weird roster construction? Should Presti get a little more blame? How do you assign that blame?
So I think that's a really difficult thing with this team because I think the biggest problem with them is inconsistency. And so where does that lie with? Is it with Billy? Because they've had this fall off 2 seasons in a row. Last year, the blame went on Andre Robertson got injured, and we have Carmelo Anthony on the roster. Cool.
Yeah.
They didn't have Robertson all season. Their defense was still finished top 5, and they didn't have Melo either. And so now people are kind of scrambling to figure out like who to blame here. I think one thing is definitely the Paul George injury is a part of the story. But I think
injury. Is that injury in air quotes, or is that injury with no quotation marks around it?
I think we're going to hear about a surgery pretty soon for Paul.
Well, he's got to, but still, yeah. I don't know how much that means. That's the something will be coming out. There will be a procedure done because at this point he has to. After all the talk of months of stuff,
he was a different player for the last from March until now. He was a different player, which, it's hard to know everything with Paul because they're so secretive about it all. But as far as like the line of demarcation where like the blame goes between Russ and Billy, I think the answer is probably they're both to blame for this, for the inconsistencies of the Oklahoma City Thunder. But again, if you're going to fire Billy Donovan, you better have a good answer on the other end. And I don't. Maybe they do. Maybe they are going to fire him, like you said. I think Sam left the door open a little bit today, but we'll see. But as far as like assigning blame, think Billy's a part of it. I think it's a pie, and Billy's a large slice of it. I think Russell is a large slice of it. I think Sam takes. He even said that he needs some blame today because he didn't have a replacement shooter for Alex Abrinas on the roster, which I think really hurt them in the end. So there's a lot of blame to go around with the Thunder, to be honest.
Did they think maybe at the buyout market something would happen for him as far as getting a shooter? Was that kind of a surprise that they didn't get? I feel like the Thunder and also the Sixers were hoping they would be able to fortify a little bit at the buyout market and then and completely struck out.
Yeah, well, Sam said this guy's name twice today, Wes Matthews. He said on two separate occasions during the press conference. No one asked him about Wes Matthews, but he did mention Wes Matthews going to Indiana twice.
Oh, interesting.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if Wes Matthews is your savior, I'm not sure it was going to go that great. But I do understand.
Right,
it does seem like having another guy out there. We were talking on our show last week about how we thought the national conversation around Russell Westbrook was getting out of control with how negative it was. And all of a sudden after the series, it was like, this guy has the worst contract in the league. That's not John Wall. Like this guy, you can't build around this. Like you can't have this guy in your team. I made a joke, only like a half joke, like I do on Twitter, where I was like, the Grizzlies should just salary dump, just take Russell Westbrook on for our non-number one pick. If we get the second, third, or fourth pick, let's give it to the Thunder with expiring salaries of Chandler Parsons and CJ Miles for Russell Westbrook. And Grizzlies fans were angry at the suggestion. They were like, no. Like, it'd be horrible. And so I think it's funny we've hit this point, and I don't know if it's just like the dunked on hive mind where we're really excited about salary cap and rebuilds and everything. But and I honestly don't know where I land on it. Like, do I want Russell Westbrook on my basketball team? So, like, where do we go forward for Russell Westbrook? Like, does that make sense that teams don't even want him because of his large salary cap figure? Can you build a winner around him? Like, are the Thunder just stuck with him? Like, what? I don't know. I guess that was a lot I just threw at you. Like, what is the conversation on Westbrook, and, like, where does it go from here?
Yeah, it's extremely complicated because like Russell's been with this team for 11 years.
Yeah.
And he's going to make the All-NBA team, you
right.
know?
Probably.
Like, so it's not that he's like a bad player. I mean, I think that most people would say he's a top 15 NBA player. Like, okay, well, let's salary dump a top 15 NBA player. I don't think so. But there is this strange line with Russell, and that he does so much to help your team, but then everything he does to hurt your team is the most visible thing possible. And so Russell is he's probably entering a stage of his career where he's probably a little underrated because he can do so many things for you on the court. But the fact that he can't shoot in a era where shooting is more important than it ever has been, and he takes a lot of shots, he's inefficient, he's all those things. I think that he complicates things for your offense, certainly. And to me, because they don't have a shooting big that plays with him, I think it makes it even harder. Like if they had, 4 shooters around him, then I think that the conversation with Russ would be a little bit different. But because they have Steven Adams down low, you have Terrence Ferguson, which nobody really cares about guarding, it complicates things for them. And so I just wonder if their roster looked a little bit more like the Bucks, I don't know if we'd be having the same conversation where if they had just shooting all around him. But they have certainly reached some sort of a crossroads with Russell Westbrook, in that something has got to change with him. I think the shot selection is a huge thing for them, definitely, and that's going to be a conversation they're going to have with him in the offseason, and a conversation they do have with him during the season too. It's not like they're just going to have to like spring this conversation on, like, do you know you have bad shot selection? Like, of course, like that's a conversation that they have a lot. But you just have to wonder, like, what kind of changes need to be made to the roster to fit him a little bit better, because it does seem like there are fit issues with this Oklahoma City Thunder team.
Yeah, I mean, Westbrook's, struggled at the rim, struggled from mid-range, all this stuff. Like, obviously the shooting was very bad, but also when I was watching the games, and like you said, his mistakes are always very highly visible, highly public, like that. Like, oh, that was really obvious. The guy with the ball, screwed that up. But when I was watching these games, I wasn't feeling like, oh, wow, he really should have gotten Terrence Ferguson more involved, or he should have deferred more to Dennis Schroeder. It's like, I don't know what Russell Westbrook was supposed to do. This is how he goes. Like, do you think it's possible to transfer him into like a facilitator or to surround him with players to be like, hey, these guys are all scorers. Like you think he can make a late career transfer into just understanding, look for everybody else, set up everybody else, and you keep your same aggressiveness on getting the ball and pushing it, but then try to just set other people up.
I think the answer is yes, because I think that we saw that at points in the season. I think the Thunder put themselves in a bad spot at the end of the season. One, they lacked that shooter. They thought they were going to have it in Alex Abrinas, who played a pivotal role for this team early on in the season. He closed games for them. Russell went to him for 2 game-winning shots, which he missed, but he went to him. And they ran plays to get him a shot because he's their designated shooter. And they didn't have you look at the team. The guy that shot best from 3 was Jeremy Grant, on the whole season. And he shot well. So it's not like he shot 34% and he's the best shooter on the team. But they didn't have a designated shooter. I think if you have one of those guys, Russ will find them. Russ continually tried to find Paul George. You go look at the numbers. The dude did whatever he could to find Paul George. I think that if Paul was completely healthy and was playing like he was in February, Russ was deferring in those situations. So I don't think it's an issue of Russ not changing. I think that storyline and narrative is pushed too hard, and I think it's just flat out wrong. He changed a lot this season to try to accommodate him. And then I think that they were kind of in desperation mode at the end of the season, where they somehow won 5 games in a row, somehow got the quote unquote dream matchup, and then got their asses completely handed to them in the playoffs. But I think they were in somewhat of I think that at that point in the season, they were grasping for who are we and what is our identity now that we're kind of having to shift things around now that Paul George isn't a supernova. What do we do?
With Steven Adams, having such a large contract and not being a shooter at all, and if they can't move Russ Westbrook, will they make an attempt to move Steven Adams? I know he's an incredibly popular player. He's an incredibly good player, but with the fit with Westbrook, do you think is that something they'll pursue to see if they can try to bring in some shooting, as far as their bigs to space it out?
I think they'll try. I think that they'll look. Sam Presti loves Steven Adams. The organization loves him. He does anything and everything they ask him to do. And so it would have to be for something pretty good. They're not just going to move him to move him. They're not going to trade him for your son Ilyasova and expiring contract or something because we need to get shooting. Well, great, we accomplished that, but now we have a really crappy guy that can shoot the basketball. They're gonna if they move him, it's going to be for something significant. And so to me, can you get something significant for Steven Adams? I think maybe is the answer to that. You'd have to attach some other assets. You probably have to attach Ferguson and maybe a future first or something like that. They're going to try. Sam always tries. Sam Presti, if he's anything as a GM, he's interesting, is always trying to make moves here or there. He's always trying to improve the team. So I think if they can make a move to improve the team that includes Steven Adams, they do it. I don't think he's untouchable by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, I guess one of the motivations to moving him, and you said they wouldn't move it just to do it, but does the salary figures come into that? Because this team, it looks like they're going to be in the luxury tax for a while, and if they're just losing in the first round, is ownership still going to keep paying taxes for this team, or will they have to eventually do something drastic where they do just pretty much move a guy to move him to try to save themselves some money?
Mm-hmm. I haven't gotten the impression that that's on the table, to be honest. I know a lot of people kind of assume that and have assumed that since Oklahoma City has been paying the luxury tax. I think that the ownership group planned on them being expensive during this portion of the Thunder era, and that they've saved a ton of money, and the ownership group makes a ton of money outside of the Thunder. And so I don't know that they're necessarily worried or concerned about that. I think that they would the ownership group is as motivated or more motivated to win than probably Sam Presti is. The reason they probably traded for Carmelo Anthony, I would point to the ownership group. They want to win. They want big names. They want splashy moves. They'll spend. They're willing to spend. I know people just look at the city and the sides of the city and like who these guys are. And it's like, yeah, whatever. Like they're probably not going to pay this, but to me, I'd be a little bit surprised, and they'll try. Like they may have to, salary dump Robertson to somebody who's on an expiring contract and see if they can work something out there. But I do think the ownership group will be willing to spend. And I know the 3 first-round exits, that may change their mind, but so far I haven't gotten the inclination that that's going to be a thing.
Are there any moves out there for this team that if they called you up and were like, Andrew, we need your advice. We know you follow real closely. Do you have any suggestions, any things we might have missed for players we should seek out, the players we should try to get in a trade that you think might be feasible?
Yeah, I think they're in a tough spot. I am intrigued by Kevin Love, and maybe I'm just a big dumb idiot, which is very possible. But I'm intrigued at the idea of Kevin Love. I think his trade value is probably very low. His contract is also very bad, and this is obviously a 100% ownership. Hey, would you like to pay this guy this much money in the next 4 years? Kind of question.
Yeah.
And to me, he's a guy that checks a lot of boxes theoretically. Like he can really shoot it. He can really pass it. He can help your team play faster. And I think that he would help this team from the big spot. Whether that would take Steven Adams, I don't know. Or if they could cobble off some other salaries that are shorter than Kevin's and then give them a first-round pick and say, hey, here's all this stuff so that you don't have to pay Kevin Love in the next 4 years, and we'll do that. I mean, to me, he's an interesting player because I think that he holds a lot of value to a team while also having very low trade value. And so I just wonder if that's something that they might look at if the ownership is willing to pay that much money down the road.
All right. So if you offered me, if I'm the Cavaliers and you say, hey, I'll give you Steven Adams, Andre Robertson, and Terrence Ferguson, and you take back Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson goes for, I think if I'm the Cavs, I might do that for a little bit, but I don't know, because Kevin Love's a good player.
He's a good player.
And maybe they'd rather, I don't know how badly they want to get off of Kevin Love. I'm seeing if they have any other longer contracts that stink.
They've got some gross contracts.
They do. I mean, I don't know how you feel about Larry Nance. I don't really want to pay Larry Nance the salary he makes, but he's okay. He's youngish.
No, yeah.
I like that. That's a good idea, though, to find like how much do the Cavs value keeping Kevin Love for the duration of his contract? How much would they be happy just to, if they could get something out of it, like a youngish player? Steven Adams, obviously much younger. And that's a team. Yeah, they can sell that. Like, we need defense. This is one of the elite defensive centers. I like that idea.
And he's Russell's friend. They went to college together.
That's
they
right.
roomed
That
together.
UCLA connection.
So,
and then you could package Love and Westbrook and trade them to the Lakers for LeBron.
That's right.
It's really too bad Magic Johnson isn't still in the Lakers. I feel like right now, after the summer's over, when no one signs with the Lakers, that's when Presti needs to offer Russell Westbrook for whatever it is, for Lonzo Ball and whoever else into the space. We'll take it. Anyway, wrapping up. What's you guys lost in a magnificent and horrific fashion in the playoffs with the Dame Lillard 37-footer and the waving goodbye. Where does that moment rank on your like all-time pain scale of Oklahoma City playoff bad moments? Yeah,
I mean, there's like the Game 6, 2016 Western Conference Finals that was like incomparable to any sort of pain that could ever be felt.
Yes.
So not that bad. I honestly, I'll tell you my feeling when that Lillard shot went down. I felt relieved, to be honest, because one, it meant that I didn't have to have like super late nights at the arena anymore, and I just did not think this team was going to win. Like after they lost that game 4 in OKC, I was like, they're toast, man. Like this team is toast, and they're toast because they're inconsistent, because they don't know exactly who they are. They're not bringing it every night, and to me, it's just like, they deserved to lose in the most embarrassing way possible, because if they were able to salvage any sort of like, you know what, if we would have done like, a couple shots fell and we could have found ourselves blah, blah, blah. If they found themselves in a situation where they could have that conversation, I think that's a disservice to the fans, it's a disservice to everybody, because they honestly need to take a good hard look in the mirror at this point. Like if they they think they're contenders. They want to be contenders, and that team was so far from a contender that they just really didn't deserve to stretch this out to 6-7 games and then like anything can happen type of deal. I think they deserve to lose in embarrassing fashion. So for me, as far as like the fan base being hurt by it, I don't know. Like I think the fan base was hurt more throughout the month of March when they went like 6-13.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that was more painful than the Lillard shot. One, because like that was just incredible. Like to just watch a guy just sink your team with one shot and wave goodbye. It's like, wow. Like honestly, like that was kind of cool to watch.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I like the idea of relief, because one of those things is when it comes to team building, an extra random meaningless playoff victory, like stretching a series to 6 games, can like plant those seeds of like, guys, we were pretty close.
Right.
Like we were close. I know that personally as a Grizzlies fan who in whatever 2016 they took 2 games off the Spurs and everyone was like, see, we were close. It's like we were terrible that season. It was but that makes sense. I feel like this postseason, like I'm seeing a lot of teams that are kind of relieved. They just want to get it over with. Like the Jazz against the Rockets. The Jazz were still in the game, and they were just like, let's just foul. I'm going to foul. I don't care if we're down 3. Let's just get out of here. And then and then the Spurs in Game 7 against the Nuggets, like the last 20 seconds, be like, you know what? Yeah, let's just do it. I'm sick of fighting. I don't want to fight anymore.
Right.
Anyway, Andrew, thanks so much for coming on. What do you got coming up? What's your off season look like? Where can people find your stuff?
So you can listen to the podcast I do on the Thunder. It's called Down to Dunk. It's on iTunes and all the other places that you listen to podcasts. The OKC Dream Team is a show through Patreon, which if you listen to Fast Break Breakfast, you know about Patreon. So you pay to listen to that show exclusively. So it's $4 a month, and you get 1 to 2 weekly podcasts. You pay $6, you get some extra shows built in there. It's with Royce Young of ESPN, John Hamm, who's on The Franchise and Bleacher Report, and then Brett Dawson of The Athletic. So subscribe to that show. Listen to us on Down to Dunk as well. So good times.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate it. And I look forward to talking with you again soon sometime.
All right. Thanks, Keith.
All right. Thanks to Andrew. Obviously, if you're an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, you probably should join his Patreon for the OKC Dream Team. Some of the best Oklahoma City Thunder reporters on that. And also, Andrew, just I like his attitude. It's very fun to talk to, very easygoing, very good-natured. So that's what we like in our NBA fans and our NBA podcasters. And speaking of good-natured NBA podcasters, now for a bonus treat, I called up Adam Mares to give me his oral history of the last 30 seconds of the Spurs Nuggets game. Adam is obviously a writer and podcaster for Denver Stiffs, so he was at the game in Denver. He's been on our show several times, and I wanted to get his impressions of what the final 30 seconds, a minute of that game felt like from a Denver Nuggets fan and supporter. So check it out. Now I'm joined by Adam Mares from Denver Stiffs. Little added bonus. Adam, can you walk me through? I want to get your take. I want to get your feelings, your moment by moment reactions to the last minute of the game, especially the hilarious final 26 seconds as the Game 7 ended with what I would call a fart noise of an ending. So anyway, I guess before we get your immediate reactions, how were you feeling? What was your confidence level after the Bryn Forbes breakaway dunk that brought the Spurs within 2 points with 50 seconds left? So what was your mental headspace there?
I was incredibly confident that the Nuggets were going to blow it. That's exactly what it felt like. As I was sitting there, the Nuggets have a tortured history. Everything seems to just work out the worst possible way for them. So as I'm watching this and they're up 13 or whatever, I'm thinking, oh man, this is incredible. I can't believe I get to witness this. And then as it's slowly chipping away, I'm thinking, oh, of course, that's right. That's how this is going to go down. But the final 30 seconds, if you watch the video,
I've seen it many times.
Jokic gets the ball at the top of the key, and you could kind of tell in his face, he's like, they're not going to foul me. And then he tries to just play it cool, like, all right, guys, let's get into our offense here. Nothing abnormal about this.
You think he was playing it cool? He was like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to show any panic.
Exactly. I'm not going to give a face. I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to stand here. They're really not going to foul me. They're going to let this whole clock wind down.
So let's back it up. So there's the breakaway dunk with 50 seconds left. I have the GIF of Rocky the Lion dangling from the rope where he's passed out. I have this queued up. Like, I'm ready to tweet this for the final collapse. But anyway, Jamal Murray hits this jump shot off 1 foot. Puts the Nuggets up 4. Things are looking good.
Sure, let's call it a jump shot. That sounds right.
Or what do you call it? I don't know. Yeah,
it's one-handed launching floater that went about 50 feet in the air.
Yeah. Oh, it was nice. So anyway, then you get DeMar DeRozan getting his shot blocked. So I want to know at that point, once the Nuggets have the ball, and you realize maybe the foul isn't happening, what are you thinking? Like, for me, time slowed down.
Yeah, I think that was everybody. You kind of look at the clock and you're thinking, am I wrong? Like, I was like, I thought usually you would foul, with 30 seconds to go down 4, but I guess not. And so you're trying to think, and then I think it just kind of became clear, like, yeah, they're really not going to foul. And I'm sitting there in press row with Matt Moore, Harrison Wind, a couple other, writers, and as it's happening, as soon as the final buzzer sounds, as we're all watching that, we all look at each other and just go, what the F just happened? Like, what the heck was that?
Well, so I was staring. I started staring at the bench. Like, once the Nuggets got the ball, and again, they possessed the ball. It's like 27 seconds, and obviously there's a 24-second shot clock. So when they get it across half court, no one on the Spurs bench. Maybe Ime Udoka. I think he's making the foul signal. No one else is. It goes like 7 or 8 seconds before Pop looks like he's calling for a foul. But it doesn't seem like Pop's heart is in it.
Yes, I see this. I'm so glad you said this because nobody has really kind of talked about that. Pop was calling, it looks like, for a foul, but kind of like, hey, man, do you want a foul or not?
He seemed so confused about whether to foul. So, like, my initial reaction live was, this is Pop's fault. He didn't do anything. No one yelled foul. But so eventually, do you think with 12 seconds left, did Pop give up?
Yes, there's no question about it.
He just walked away. Like, he slumped shoulders. He's like, all right, cool. Whatever.
Let me first say that fourth quarter and that moment in particular was the loudest I've ever seen an arena. So I'm sure there have been ones that have been louder, but at least here in Denver, I don't think I've ever seen an arena get that loud. So there was this moment of just sort of like, chaos and I think everybody was thrown off a little bit of balance. So maybe that, but at the same time, there was stoppage in the game that you knew how much time was left. Like, you kind of just had this clock in your head going, okay, there's a minute left, there's 45 seconds, there's 30 seconds, whatever. And then, but your question about Pop, he definitely gives, half of the shot clock, he's kind of saying play up, then he's saying foul. And then he kind of just throws his arms like, okay, screw it. I'm done here. And I think the whole Spurs, I'm a big believer in like the subconscious. And sometimes, you do your subconscious gets you to do the thing you really want, even if it's not logical. I think the Spurs all wanted to be done, man. I really do. And in that moment, they're down 4. They're probably going to lose anyway. I feel like it was a collective. Do we really want this? Let's all kind of collectively just screw up at the same time.
The only person, upon watching this video many, many times, the only person who seems like he's aware of what's going on is Rudy Gay. Weirdly, like, Rudy Gay had a really good game.
He's played well.
So and then at the end, he puts his hands really wide, like, guys, what's going on? And then like he kind of runs towards, maybe he's like, I'm just gonna leave my guy and go foul. And then he like makes this weird hand motion. Where it's like, I guess I'm not fouling. So then he's like, okay, I feel like he trusted the sideline. Like, okay, we're playing defense. And so then when the shot misses, and again at home is I'm cheering wildly for the Nuggets with about 12 seconds left. I'm like, the game's over. This is awesome. The Nuggets win. Like, the Nuggets, like, they're going to dribble it out. The ball's going to be in the air for a few seconds. Like, there's going to be nothing. But then after the rebound, Rudy Gay makes a motion towards the sideline, like timeout. We got 2 seconds left, but no one does anything. And he's like, whatever, I guess. All right.
It was so bizarre. There's 2 funny parts here that I think have been undiscussed. One, I thought maybe it was just Aldridge didn't know what to do or whatever, so he's sagging off of Jokic for some reason in that moment. Right. And then But then Patty Mills, Jamal
Patty
Murray
Mills.
cuts behind him. And Patty Mills just kind of touches Jokic, like an easy opportunity just to foul him, and then moves on. So Patty Mills clearly also not in the loop about what to do. But then, the announcer, the play-by-play, also for whatever reason seemed to not understand the moment. This is why it's like it feels like one of those collective, universal brain farts where we all were teleported to another dimension for a moment, because the announcer calling the game seemed shocked that the clock had run out. So when DeMar gets the ball and he shoots it, and he says something like, "And that's going to bring us to the game is over."
Right.
Yes,
I believe his word when Jamal Murray shoots, he goes into just generic play-by-play, but saying, "And the big shot goes up," or something like that. Where it's like it's not really a big shot; it just needs to hit the rim. If it hits the rim, the game's over. And then he's like, "You're right." He's like, "And that brings us to, it's over. The game's over." But I'm glad you mentioned Patty Mills. Patty Mills has gotten off the hook here. Patty Mills is a true failure in this. He touches Jokic. Jamal Murray runs around the screen and Patty Mills kind of grabs him, trying to get around him. Just foul him. What? I mean, I don't know.
I thought he was. I thought that's what he was doing, was going up to foul him, but he just kind of caresses him, clearly not trying to foul. And you go, "Oh, all right." That was the moment where I was like, okay, that Nuggets just won. That's a weird way to win, but I'll take it.
That's pretty good. Well, I kind of want to get you. I don't know if it's going to work, but if you can queue up the video of the final 30 seconds.
Let me pull it up. Okay.
Just hit play, and I want you to narrate. Just give me your thoughts. Actually, try to transport me back to your thoughts from Saturday. So I want you to channel what you were thinking as this final 30 seconds plays out.
All right, so Nugget shot goes up, and it is good. Jamal Murray, what a clutch moment. Denver might actually be able to hold the gate here. Let's see what DeRozan does. He drives to the lane. Torrey Craig with the big play. Jokic has the ball. They're gonna foul him. We get it to Murray, our best shooter. All right, foul him. Nope, back to Jokic. They're not gonna foul him. What are they do? What's Aldridge doing right here? What the hell is Aldridge doing right now? What on earth is he doing? They're not going to foul him. What the hell? The Denver Nuggets are going to win. What on earth? They did it. They did it. Oh, my God. Does that work out?
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Again, it was the weirdest ending to a Game 7. And, the Spurs laid down and said, "I don't want to play anymore." So congratulations, Adam. Congratulations, Denver Nuggets.
We'll take it. Win a victory by default.
I guess final thing. Thank you for sparing time to walk me through memory lane, an oral history of something that happened 2 days ago. What are the keys? How are the Nuggets? Nuggets with honestly, a dream matchup. You get to play the Blazers to go to the Western Conference Finals. I think each respective fan base is very optimistic about their chances, but
as they should be.
As they should be. What do the Nuggets have to do, or what are they going to do to take this series? Do you think?
I think if they hold Damian Lillard to 45 points per game or less, I think they're going to win. I mean, I think they can do it. And to be honest with you, my confidence level on that is 60% because Lillard has the ability. I mean, Derek White tore Denver up in the first 3 games of the playoff series. So Lillard, a couple orders of magnitude up from that. So, but no, I think Denver does match up favorably. Teams that can do the spread pick and roll with a rolling big that plays above the rim really give Denver a hard time. They don't, the Blazers don't have that. So in theory, at least Denver should be able to do okay. But the number one thing, Denver shot the second worst out of all 16 teams in the first round on wide open catch and shoot 3-pointers. And they had the 3rd best offensive rating in the first round. So I think Denver's offense has shown signs that it's coming back, every part except for the ball going through the hoop.
Yeah. All right. Well, best of luck. I'm very biased. Go Nuggets. But appreciate it, Adam. We'll look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, big thanks to Adam for coming on. If you're a Denver Nuggets fan, make sure you check out Locked On Nuggets. Make sure you're getting your stuff at denverstiffs.com for all the Nuggets coverage, especially during the Western Conference semifinals up against the Blazer boys. All right, if you want to support our show, download that draft app, draft.com/fastbreak. Use our code FASTBREAK for a free $3 entry for the draft app. Also, join us at patreon.com, patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast, where you get that exclusive bonus content. All you people involved with the Stone Cold Locks playoff pick'em, we're all chasing Jesse with his amazing 40 points after the first round. But make sure you're always checking the Patreon page and your email for those to make sure you fill your forms out before the rounds start. All right, you can follow me on Twitter at FastBreakBreak, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. You guys are the best. Thanks for listening, and remember, breakfast is the most important thing.
Yeah, never apologize for being G&G. Fast break, man. You understand?